Monster Castle, paranormal, radio hound, Monster Castle, paranormal, digital radio, KTLK. Yeah, the Fringe FM.
There will be mature and possibly immature content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.
Welcome to the Monster Castle Radio Show. For the extreme paranormal listener. And here is your host, the Wolfman, Mike.
This is where the real freaks hang out, alright, yeah.
We got a special Monster Castle, special surprise guest from Eric. This is gonna be crazy. Anyone listening? Tweet it out to all your friends. This is gonna be quite a shocking show. And we are here. All right. Big long intro there for you. Okay, hang on. This is serious stuff today, man. This is not about spaghetti, Adam. I'm sorry. We'll talk about spaghetti some other time. How you doing, Eric?
Yeah, Adam's mind is. We're gonna blow it to the point where he may not ever stutter again after this show.
Yeah, and it might feel like spaghetti.
But yeah, his brain will be spaghetti by the time we're done with our guest tonight.
I know mine's already. Just oh my gosh.
Just anticipating.
Right. Okay. Looking for something here. Okay, hang on a second. Do you want to just get it right?
With our guest. Hold on, sorry. I gotta turn that off. Hold on a second.
Right.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I've already got some people in the chat room that I tweeted out to. So yeah, that lady Karen's a friend of mine from Los Angeles.
Okay. There we go.
Hi, Karen.
Karen, how you doing?
Karen's awesome. She knows what's up.
Bruce May, you are the next guest on Monster Castle Paranormal. Come on down. All right.
That was my silly interruption. I mean, introduction. Interrupting an introduction. Here you go. Bruce, are you there?
Me? Yeah, I'm here.
All right. How's it going, man? How are you?
Doing okay?
Oh, it's a crazy, spontaneous
the
show
station
here.
makes a lot of sound.
I'm sorry about that.
It's spooky sounding on my end.
Oh yeah, it's a spooky sounding show. Yeah, we're a spooky show.
I'm going to spook you then.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yes.
That's what we are ready for.
You're in the right spot. Everybody get ready to be spookified.
You want me to tell a little bit about the guest, Wolf? Or do you
would you? Maybe you should give a little introduction.
Give a little
first.
bio.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. This was about a month ago, right? Bruce, wasn't it about a month ago that we were in San Francisco at the UFO conference there?
Yes, at the UFO Con.
UFO Con, and there was other guests. Bruce was given the opportunity to speak at the conference. I met him there. I was there with Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange, and his wife Debbie were there. We were doing live broadcasts. David Adair was there. George Norrie was there. Jason Quitt was there. I mean, there was it was a lot of great speakers, and so we were sitting that night. We arrived. Dave Cruz and I and his wife were sitting at the restaurant there. They have a restaurant there at the right near the airport. I think was it the Hyatt, I believe, or was it the Holiday Inn? I can't remember the name.
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn. So we're sitting in the bar restaurant at the Holiday Inn, and I'm talking with Dave. Left of us, sitting in another booth, was Bruce May, and you were sitting by yourself. I remember you sitting over there, and we were just talking, and and then we made a comment. Do you remember what the comment was, Bruce? Because I must have said something, and then you kind of leaned over and said something to me. But do you recall what that was? Because I don't remember.
No, you were just discussing the subject of UFOs, and I happened to, be eavesdropping. So I said, do you mind if I sit in on the conversation? Because
yes,
I have
correct.
A message of my own I'd like to share with people.
Right, and so I invited him over. I think he came over and sat with us, and you told us part of your story, enough to definitely get my interest, because I think it was the next morning, if not the next morning, the morning after that you were scheduled to speak. I think it was 8:30 or 8:45 or some ungodly hour. And
in the morning, on a Sunday morning.
It was a Sunday morning. Okay, so yeah, you actually were not. When we met you that night, it was Friday, I think. You weren't scheduled to speak for a few days.
Yeah,
but,
correct.
Yeah, so you basically were hanging around and chit chatting with people and getting to know people.
Yeah, I went to a dinner that was given in honor of George Norrie, and while I was busy meeting the big man himself, somebody put something in my food and tried to poison me. I ended up throwing up all night long, but I still managed to do a halfway decent show the next morning for 2 hours.
Oh my God!
I think that I did the best show there, and that despite the fact that I was sick as a dog.
I agree. It was the best presentation, no doubt. I just got to let me just lead you into the presentation. So here's what's interesting, because when you came down that morning, I was sitting downstairs, and you came down the elevator, and I just happened to be sitting down there. This was after you'd been throwing up all night, and I looked at you and I said, "How you doing, Bruce?" And you looked at me and goes, "You something like you don't want to know." And then you proceeded to tell me that you were poisoned, and I thought, what? How can that possibly be? But the reality is they had a buffet at that dinner. There was chicken and rice and vegetables and everything else, all in a buffet setting. So people were walking around with their plates, all getting food from this. It wasn't like these plates were being brought to you. So the fact that you were poisoned and nobody else got sick, it had to be that way, because if there was food, bad food in the buffet, then everybody would have got sick, or other people would have got sick, but nobody else got sick. So, but the reality is, so Bruce comes into the conference room, setting up for his talk, and there was probably 6 or 7 people already in the room waiting to hear you talk, and you were telling people that you were poisoned and that you were sick, but you were going to do the show anyway. So go ahead and talk about that experience, what it was like for you, and tell us about some of the things that you talked about in your presentation.
Well, one thing I want to mention, I've been telling the same information for over a half a century. I'm in my 60s now, and I've been telling the same story to people since I was 7 years of age. But it's only recently that people have begun to take notice of what I was saying, because the kinds of things that I talked about 50 years ago, people couldn't comprehend then. But this generation that exists right now has been so desensitized through movies and television shows and other things that the truth doesn't shock them like it would have 50 years ago. So now when I sit down and I go over all the things that have taken place, they're more able to understand. So the one thing I was going to say, though, is that I have been trying for many, many years to call in to Coast AM with George Norrie and Art Bell, and there's always a block on my phone. And it's been very strange, because I had a phone set up where you only pushed one button on it, and it would dial Art Bell. And I just would sit night after night after night for years, literally, and I never once got through. But on a couple occasions when I did get through, it was after George Norrie took over, and I was at somebody else's house. Somebody asked me to house sit their dog on a Friday night so that they could go out and go dancing. So I said, sure, I'll watch your dog as long as you let me use your phone. They said, sure, go ahead. So I called in and got through the first time. And unfortunately, though, the lady who was screening everybody, she said, we're not talking to aliens tonight. And she literally hung up on me. And it was strange, too, because I called back, and I got right back through again. So it's very strange that there's other people that call into the show. They call in, 3 to 5 times a week, and they always get through, but I have never once got through, because somebody in the government does not want my story told, because I'm the real thing. I'm not a wannabe. I'm not a make-believe. I was put here for the purpose of trying to send you a message. And as strange as it's going to sound to you people, I am an actual flesh and blood alien from another planet. I just happen to look like human beings, but I'm not a human being. And the fact of the matter is, there's a long story behind my life. What he was talking about earlier was when I joined the military at the age of 19. That was a long time ago. There was a draft in progress. And my draft number was it was really low. It was like 27 out of 350, which means that I was virtually guaranteed to be drafted. So, if you know you're going to be drafted, the best thing to do is to enlist on your own. That way you can control the kind of things that you do. Besides which, I didn't have any funding for college. I figured I'd do 4 years of service to the United States, and then afterwards I'd have the GI Bill. And as it happens, I'm kind of from a military background. My family is. On my father's side, I've had people here in North America since the early 1700s. And I've had relatives fight and die literally in every battle ever fought by the United States at any time, including some that took place before there was a United States. My mother's side was different, however. My mother was a kind of an escapee from Germany. My grandmother and their 4 kids were sent to the United States because my mother was a Jew. My grandfather saw what was coming down, so he sent his wife and kids to the United States. And as it happens, he had 2 boys and 2 girls, and his 2 boys, which were named Leslie and Clifford Raridan, they joined the United States military and volunteered to go fight Nazi Germany. And they were in tank battalions. And as it happens, Clifford Raridan was at the Battle of the Bulge, and he stopped an entire German armored division dead in its tracks almost single-handedly because he was a Jew and because he got mad because he saw Germans shooting Americans in the back as they were trying to retreat. So he just decided, all right, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight you won't even believe. And he massacred them. He literally tore through them like a chainsaw through tissue paper. And they collapsed. And that's no small thing because Germany put all of their reserves into the battle. And when they collapsed, that was the end of the war. Germany collapsed. The thing is,
that was World War I, right, Bruce? We're talking about World War I?
2.
Oh, well, this is World War II. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the right timeline.
So, my uncle, just for the record, was brought back and was buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and in a very solemn ceremony that was attended by thousands of people, he was awarded posthumously the Congressional Medal of Honor. So, see, on both sides, on my father's side or my mother's side, there was this military background. My mother worked in the USO, and that's how she met my father in the first place. And here's the thing, because they had 6 children. They had 3 boys and 3 girls, and after having 6 children, my mother decided that she didn't want to have any more children. She figured 6 was enough. So she had her fallopian tubes surgically removed so that she couldn't have any more kids. But her uterus was still intact. The thing is, 3 years later, my parents had a missing time event where they lost like 3 hours in an afternoon. And it was very strange because when my mother came to, her underwear was missing and she felt wet in her crotch area. And it wasn't from urine. It was like a lubricant of some kind. And they didn't know what to make out of the whole event, except that a couple months later, they discovered that my mother was pregnant. And that's where I came from. See, I was completely unexpected. And the thing is that when I was born with pointed ears. And kind of freaked everybody out. Other than that, I looked perfectly normal.
You're talking about ears like Spock, right?
Yes, I looked just like Mr. Spock, except in real life. There wasn't plastic or glued-on ears. The thing is,
how many teeth did you have in your mouth?
Eric, the guy that I'm talking to here, he saw the flat spots on the backs of my ears. You can still tell. My father, what he did was he took me to a surgeon, and he had my ears cosmetically reconstructed by a plastic surgeon in an effort to try to make me look normal, which I wish he had just left the ears the way they were. I preferred it that way. But where I come from, everybody has pointed ears. You know, there's a story behind that. I'll get to that. But what direction do you want to go from here? Do you want me to...
So Wolfman, you got any questions? It's your show, buddy. I just wanted to. Do you have anything you want to ask at this point?
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering if you could have heard better with those bigger ears. Probably would have. It probably changed your hearing when they did that. But you were too young.
Dramatically.
Right? You must have.
Dramatically.
How old were you when he did that?
No, I was under 6 months of age.
Oh, and you remember that?
No, I don't remember it. What I remember is my previous existence. I'm a clone of somebody who was killed a long, long time ago. They took cells from my body.
Where do you think they got
still in
them?
existence.
Where do you think they got the DNA from?
It's mine.
Okay.
It's me.
Who did it
it's
again?
Me.
Sorry, who did the cloning?
Who did the what?
The cloning.
The cloning. My people.
Okay.
See, there's a lot of things going on that you people
cloned you from.
If I say it to you, most of you people don't believe the truth. And it's very strange because if I lied to you, you'd believe that.
Well, you're
if
talking.
I told you the straight out truth.
I think you might be talking to the right crowd you want to. So go ahead and tell us. I know I'll probably tend to. I know when someone's lying. I would just go with my gut instinct. I'm not going to go with what.
On Mars, right this second, there are billions of people. And the government of the United States is keeping that from the public.
I believe that.
I was said. What?
I believe there's probably millions or thousands, but I don't know about billions. But I know there's people.
Billions.
Wow.
There are billions, and I want to clarify a whole bunch of things. You know, if you think that there are secret space missions to Mars, that's nonsense, because there are billions of people that live on Mars, and they probably take it pretty seriously if you landed in their backyard. See, that's the thing. Nobody realizes what's really going on.
So that's why
there are billions of people on Mars, and they all look European in appearance, and every last one of them, have pointed ears. And they're a race of man known as the Nephilim. That's my preference, the Nephilim.
How tall are they?
Biblical.
How tall are they?
No, we're normal. You know, I'm just right at 6 feet in height.
Okay.
Now, I know that I know about the giants thing, but you know what people don't understand is that when we started intermarrying and interbreeding with humans, the children, there was a lot of birth defects. And we had children that, because of the lack of gravity on the earth, would just shoot up. You know, and you get these guys that would be anywhere from 8, 9, 10 feet in height, and they'd have 2 sets of teeth in their mouth.
Okay, wait a minute. Back up. You said the gravity, I thought the gravity was actually less on Mars.
No, we're not from Mars.
Oh, okay.
No, see, there's the thing. Mars has no indigenous animal life forms. Mars has a lot of microbial life, but it never got past that phase. Our race is from a planet that was in the 5th orbit, in between Mars and Jupiter, where the asteroid belt is today.
What do they call it?
That
What planet was it called? Do you know what it's called?
It loses something in the translation, but it was simply called the planet Water.
Wow.
Or, if you want to go with the Sumerian term, you could call it Kemet.
I've heard
which
that.
is actually the Sumerian word for water.
Wow.
See, there were two planets in this star system that gave birth to life. One was named Earth, the other was named Water.
The story is
I know
plausible.
Zeus-
I gotta say,
Wait till you hear it. Let
Is-
him go, because it's
all right.
going to add up. It's like a massive puzzle, and as he puts the pieces down, the picture becomes very clear. But I just want to clarify. So, going back to, could you touch back on a clone of Orion, correct? And your father or your grandfather was Poseidon. Can you touch on that first, so we can kind of get that picture in our mind?
All right, yeah, no, that's my real name. My real name is Orion. My father was the most famous admiral that ever lived. His name was Grand Admiral Poseidon. My uncle, that you call Zeus, he was Supreme Commanding General of the Army. But there's a story behind that. You gotta hear it. See, there's things that you can say, like a man was blinded by a woman's beauty. You say that 10, 20 times over a campfire, and suddenly it becomes a story of somebody being blinded. I was reading some of the stuff that was said about me, Orion, and it talks about how Zeus, Hermes, and Poseidon all ejaculated into some kind of bag that they took out of a cow, and they buried it for 10 months, and when they went back 10 months later and dug it up, there was me. Baby Orion, which was trying to explain why I was earthborn. But I'm the original. I'm not a wannabe. I'm not a make-believe. You were told thousands and thousands of years ago that in the end days that I would be brought back from the dead. And I am brought back from the dead. And it's really me. They built the pyramids in honor of me. There are 3 volcanoes that are artificial on the surface of Mars that are supposed to represent the belt of Orion. I'm amazed that now that I'm actually here, in person, in the flesh, that nobody is really taking notice. But, I've been battling with the United States government for the last 40 years because when I came of age, as I said, I joined the United States Navy, both because my father was my human father was a naval hero of World War II, and because of my original father, my real father, which is Poseidon. So I joined the Navy, and unfortunately, after I got through the initial parts of this, I never got stationed or anything because I was taken into a kind of a court-martial setting, and I was accused of espionage. And they wanted to know why I had enlisted in their armed services. And they told me straight out in this court that they knew that I was an alien from another planet. Which I tried to play that off a little bit. I said, well, where did you guys get this idea? And, there was a guy who was speaking for all the generals and admirals that were sitting up there looking at me. And he mentioned those giant skeletons that I was just talking about. And he was talking about the teeth, that a lot of times these teeth, there'd be 2 sets of teeth in these giants' mouth. There'd be a set of 36 on the outside, and on the inside a set of 32. And he said the nearest that they can figure, a man from another planet came and interbred with early humans and created these birth defects that created these giants. And I said, well, that's fascinating, but what's that got to do with me? And he said, well, because you have 36 teeth in your mouth. I said, yeah, so what? He said, well, humans don't have 36. Humans only have 32 teeth. Besides, there's genetic red flags. They were right. I knew who I was. But I'm not a danger to anybody. I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to protect you as much as I can and to try to have a conversation.
Grandma
People
Wolf
have
said the
People have been
bigot
sitting out in the desert
Oh
in lawn
my!
chairs, hoping to have a conversation with aliens. Well, it's going to take a lot more than sitting in lawn chairs to have a conversation with somebody from another planet. So the thing is that we want to have a conversation with you too. But there are a number of stumbling blocks coming between us and you, and they thought that the best way to do this was to do what they did, which is they cloned me and brought me back from the dead. So I have the memories of my previous lives, but I'm not reincarnated. That was something I mentioned earlier. I am not reincarnated. I am a clone.
Really?
And before anybody starts saying that I don't have a soul, yes, I do too.
Okay, where did it go in between the stage of dying and then being reincarnated? Where did your soul go then, if you weren't reincarnated? I don't get it.
I talked to God.
Okay, I'm not trying to get you upset. I just don't understand.
God.
Okay.
I really talked to God.
Okay.
And God is real. He really exists. But here's the problem. He didn't let me in the last time.
Oh, we're coming up break here. We're going to be back in shortly. Everyone needs to take a break here anyway. Wow, that's a lot to absorb, man. That's beautiful. We'll be back
You gotta
shortly.
remember, Bruce, that nobody's heard this before, so we got to give them a few minutes to let it sink in.
Oh, it's just another day. It's just another day on earth. Oh, it's just another day. Just another day. It's just another day on earth. Oh, it's just another day on earth. It's just another day on earth. One day just another day on earth. We say that was just another time. One day we will put it all behind. We'll say that was just another day on earth. Just another day. Oh, it's just another day on earth.
line in there, and it's pretty close to what I actually look like today.
Really?
I sent Eric a picture of that.
I did see the picture. It's the pictures you sent me. You look kind of like what Jesus looked like in a sense. This with your facial features and your hair. And has anyone ever told you that before?
Yeah, I look like a Nordic alien, and there's a very good reason for that. I am a Nordic alien.
This is the Monster Castle Paranormal Radio Show.
Remember I told you there's billions of people on Mars.
From all walks of life.
Okay, here's what we're going to do, because I think that's confusing people. So when we come back on the air, let me ask you some questions.
We're on the air.
Let's try to. We're on the air. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, I'm watching the chat room, Bruce. We've got a lot of people in there asking questions and chatting and trying to, get the flow of what you're discussing. But it might have been confusing because you mentioned there's millions or billions of people on Mars right now. What race of beings is this that's there now? And so kind of just discuss what's happening on Mars right now in a little more detail if you can.
The people that are on Mars, and there are billions, that's with a B, as in like buffalo or kicked in the butt. It's billions.
Gotcha.
There are billions of people on Mars, and they are only a small percentage of our total population. We have people today on hundreds of worlds out across the galaxy. Our current population vastly exceeds 111 billion. So, but you are not. Okay,
let me jump in real quick. So, Bruce, your planet original planet is not Mars. It just happens to be one of the planets that your people inhabited. Right? Am I correct there?
Correct.
Okay, what about the moon?
Go ahead, Wolfman.
What about the moon? Is there inhabitants on the moon? Is that why they stopped the moon missions?
Oh, certainly. There are bases all over the backside of the moon.
How many people? What's the population there?
Probably at least 100,000 servicemen that are on the back of the moon right now.
And what breed?
But they're not under.
What breed
are
they?
They're not under the command of the United States.
Yeah,
they're under our command.
Okay. And are they
secret space fleet that everybody keeps talking about?
Is it humans?
That's not the United States. That's us.
Okay, and is there humans with you guys working with you in space?
Oh, absolutely. I was trying to explain some of the ins and outs of what's going on. We have for decades, many decades actually, been taking somewhere between 35 and 50,000 people a year off of this planet, and that's just out of the United States alone. I don't even know what the numbers are for the rest of the
So you guys are basically to blame for all these human disappear, like the missing 411, all these people that just vanish?
No.
Well, who's doing that?
We don't hurt anybody.
No, but that doesn't mean
you're
hurt. That doesn't mean you're hurting them. That could mean you just took them with you to space and gave them a better job and better life.
That's exactly what they do.
That's exactly what we do. We turn their brains back on. Humans are only using 10% of their brains.
Not all of them.
You have suffered a catastrophic genetic side effect of the inbreeding process because you're part ape and part us. We lived here on this planet for over 12,000 years, from about 52,000 years ago to about 40,000 years ago. And we were friends with what was called the Simian Nation. There was a race of people on this planet, and they were apes.
Okay, hold on, Bruce. It's Simian, you said, right? Simian Nation.
Yes, the Simian Nation.
Okay, so what he's going to tell you guys about right now, and you got to visualize the movie Planet of the Apes, but even way more advanced. But there was a race of apes, of very intelligent, loving, caring apes. That talk about that and when that was, And then what happened with that? Was it 40,000 or 52,000 or 65, however many millions or thousands of years ago? Talk about that, please.
No, it wasn't millions of years ago. It was 53,000 years ago when our planet was destroyed. We lost 49 billion people in one single day. But we had 3.5 billion people that were still alive on the surface of Mars at the time. And in addition to that, we had this repository of all of these vials of blood for tens of billions of people. See, we keep vials of blood from our people so that if we have to identify their remains because there's a war in progress. You're doing the same thing. We can identify somebody through their genetic remains. What ended up happening was that because of the massive loss of life, when we came to the Earth and kind of got settled in here, we started a cloning program and started cloning all these people that were dead. And that's how I was brought back the first time.
Okay, and where do their you said the souls go to God, but then when you clone them, why would the same soul go back to that body that's cloned?
It isn't necessarily. I don't think I'm the same soul. I just have the same memories. You know, I was trying to explain. See, that's how complicated things are. You know, there was a story I told him. I hope you don't mind me repeating it. There was a little girl. She was about 10 years old. She was attacked by somebody who raped her and then beat her literally to death with a hammer. When they found her, they took the heart out of that little girl and put the heart in another 10-year-old little girl whose heart was failing. And it was perfect. The girl was fine. The problem was that the girl that had the new heart started dreaming of the guy murdering her. She knew his name. She knew his address. She knew where he lived. So the parents, after the little girl told all this information to her parents, they gave that information to the police. The police went to the guy's house with a search warrant, and in his garage, they found a hammer in there that still had pieces of brain matter and blood on it that was from that little girl.
I've heard the story. So that's a true story?
You know, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. You know, every time you transplant tissue from one person into another person, there's also a transplant of information. Because I don't know exactly how it all happens.
Okay.
You know, the brain controls the information.
I'll accept that answer. That's a good answer, sir.
The significant events of a person's life
hang on
are recorded at a genetic level.
All right.
Bruce, let him ask you some questions.
I got to ask some questions from the chat room. That was a good answer for that one. I'm going to have to ponder that. I think it was a pretty good answer. The Chinese going to the dark side of the moon. What happened there with their recent probes?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not up on the Chinese.
Oh, I just thought you might know.
I don't trust a whole lot of stuff from the Chinese.
So you're not up on what's going on right now, recently on the dark side of the moon. They're not.
You know, there's a lot of Chinese people.
Well, they sent probes up there, that's all.
UFO photos. There's a lot of, you'll see it on the YouTube and on the Internet. You'll see these things, real UFO photos. And, you know, if they're from China, they're probably just fake. There's a lot of fake stuff out there, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to help people sort through all the muck and mire to get to the basic facts of what is going on.
Okay, were the moon missions real? The United States moon missions, were they real? What we saw on TV, was that real?
Well, I'll tell you what I think, and it's just an opinion, okay? I believe that they actually went to the moon, but I don't believe it was the same guys they told you it was. You know, if they send 3 guys to the moon and they die, they don't want anybody to know that. So what they did was they sent like Neil Armstrong up, and all he did was fly around the Earth in orbit, and that way, they superimposed pictures between the two events, and so Neil Armstrong got the credit for having landed on the moon, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't know about, like those X-15 missions. The United States was already in space and had already sent satellites to Mars before the Russians ever once sent that first satellite up into space. And they made a big deal about the Russians, being the first in space. They sent Sputnik up, and they had the first man in space and the first woman in space. And it's all bunk. It was all complete bunk, because the government of the United States didn't want to be the only country that was sending people into space. So this was kind of the best way they could get the Russians behind it, So they let them take credit for everything. So, but I think the United States has gone to the moon. I just don't believe it's the same guys that they tell you it was. I mean, look at that, the space shuttle Discovery. Is that the one that blew up as it was taking off?
Oh, yes, yeah. What happened there?
The Challenger. I looked at these photos. If you look it up on the internet, they have found what appears to be 6 of the 7 astronauts, and they're still alive. And there's no explanation as to why they should be alive.
Where?
And it's weird because 4 of the 6 haven't even bothered to change their names.
Huh.
And the 2 that did change their names, they just changed their first name. The Japanese guy, his name was Ellison Onizuka. Well, this reporter went to the Onizuka residence just to interview the family to ask them how they were getting along. All these years, it's been 30 years or something since the space shuttle disaster. And this guy came and answered the door, and he claimed his name was Claude Onizuka, except he was the spitting image of the original astronaut. And when the reporter asked him, he said he was the identical twin brother of the guy who was killed in the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. So even if you did a genetic test on him, it would be identical to the original guy. But, there's something else going on. And so I happen to have some inside proof about the space shuttle missions. They shut down the space shuttle missions because of something that took place in Williams, Arizona. In Williams, Arizona, there was a large triangular ship, and it was fired on by F-16s, and they blew it out of the sky.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. This is in 2007 or 2006, correct?
Yeah, it was December of 2007. They had a man on the surface, and they were trying to retrieve him. What were you doing there that day, and what people were around you, and what was happening there that day when this went down? If just kind of tell us a little bit about that, so we can picture this. All right. Well, I've been in intensive care on 8 different occasions from attempts on my life. I had an attempt on my life and had some serious injuries, and I had to go to a hospital, and while they were doing surgery, they removed my 2 tracking chips. I had these 2 little chips. I had one in my right sinus passage, one in my left forearm, and while I was unconscious, they removed the tracking chips.
But these are implants that we call also, correct?
Pardon?
These are implants, not tracking chips. Implants that you had, like what we call alien implants is what you're referring to, correct?
Yeah, it would allow my people to find me. And they used
so these implants were put in by your people.
The Nephilim, the people of Mars. I'm a Martian,
Correct.
basically.
Okay. So they had. So you had surgery. They removed these implants.
Right.
And then and so how did, and then what led to you going to Williams in the desert and experiencing that ship? And we want to hear the story, because the ship story is amazing.
The people of Mars, it's going to be hard for you people to understand. They all use 100% of their brains, and it makes everything immensely different. You can have like a town hall meeting, and everybody will show up, and nobody is actually there, because they're all sitting back in their quarters on like a lazy boy recliner, and they're astral projecting to the sites. They can astral project over long distances. They can send their consciousness. They're telepathic. They see everything that's going on here. You guys don't realize that everything that is going on this planet is being observed. You can't go to the bathroom without these guys knowing that you've gone to the bathroom. They know how many pieces of toilet paper you use. The thing is that after my tracking chips were removed, because I am what's considered an historic icon, our people thought that they were giving you a present by bringing me back to life and letting me live amongst you as one of you. And the thing is that when they took the tracking chips, they were worried what was going to become of me. So this woman, she contacted me psychically. She astral projected. And it was a long event, but to make a long story short, after the communication, she told me where to go. She said, "You have an area up there where you've been camping, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, to the east of you there's a good open area of about 20 to 30 miles that you can see. It's a big, long valley." And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Well, go there, because we're going to come and we're going to get you out of there." So I said, "Sure, fine." So I went there and was parked in a van. And I got up on top of my van and was standing in the middle of the luggage rack, and I had this flashlight that plugs into the cigarette lighter, and I saw the ship come in. And I started flashing them because I had a 1,000,000-watt light bulb in this thing. You could guide in a 747 with this thing with no problem. So I start flashing them when suddenly I was blown right off the top of the van by these F-16s that flew like 10 feet over my head. And they came up on me so fast, I didn't even hear them. They just hit me like a bullet flying past my head and literally blew me off the top of the van. But luckily, I'm kind of athletic, a little bit athletic, and I managed to twist around and get a hold of the luggage rack, and I stopped myself from falling and breaking bones, but I pulled myself up, and just as I did, I looked up, and all these F-16s let out a line of missiles. And I stood there and watched these missiles go across the air from the F-16s, and it hit the ship. And the ship exploded. It looked like the Hindenburg disaster. And the thing fell to the ground, and it crashed. And it started this massive forest fire. And I sat there all night long watching this fire, and I could see across this field. There was like about 20 miles in between me and this thing. And there was all these lights, red, blue, yellow, hundreds of them out there. So the next morning, I could see that there was huge plumes of smoke going up. And I drove over into Williams, Arizona. And when I got into town, the main reason I went there was to see if people noticed all these plumes of smoke. And when I got into town, I noticed that all over town, there was these racks that were set in front of all the businesses. And it had a big sign on it. It says, "Free, take one." And I walked up and looked, and it was a newspaper. It said something like the Williams Times. And it said, their main story on it, it said, Forest Service starts prescribed burning today. So they already had a cover story in place for these huge plumes of smoke. And it was just directly west of Williams, but just on the other side of this row of mountains that are there. So that's how quickly they had a cover story in place. But the thing I want to point out to people, that ship was armed to the teeth. They could have blown all those F-16 fighter jets right out of the sky. But they didn't even have their deflector shields on. They didn't have anything on. They were sitting there with all of their offensive equipment on the off position. And the only reason that they would have done that is if they had declared that they were on a search and rescue mission. You follow? So that they were basically our version of a Red Cross ship. And the United States government knew that. These pilots must have known that. And they fired on it anyway. And the captain that was on that ship, he must have thought that these are dummy missiles, that they're like going to hit the hull and just, bounce off or something. Because he probably never believed for an instant that the United States would actually fire on his ship. But they did. And the thing is, they were looking for me. And it's weird that nobody has investigated it, because I sat there and watched them for day after day after day after day as they were flying in these Ospreys. I think that's what they call them. It's those huge transport planes with the large propellers that face up and down.
Yes.
So that the planes kind of land like helicopters.
Yep.
And
Take
almost
off
on an
and
hourly basis, they were
verticals.
loading up the wreckage from this ship. So I know that probably over 1,000 people were killed by the United States. And it was murder. It was just straight out murder. So I'm not exactly sure what led to it, but I'm sure it has something to do with our enemies, because we're at war. But the United States has been playing ball with some of these grays, what you call grays.
Yeah.
And they are our enemies. We are at war
time out, Bruce.
with them.
Do you want to go to a break, Wolfman, or do you got any questions? Because this is an interesting part of the story.
No, the break's not yet. I actually want to...
Okay, my bad.
In a few minutes, though. I'm not sure what we got here. When you hear the music come in, then it's break.
Good.
Okay.
Because I was going to tell you something. The United States got spanked over it. They burned the Johnson Space Center. And it's never been made public. The whole NASA facility there in Fort Worth was lit up like a Christmas tree.
By your
They
people,
burned
right?
it. That was in 2011. And as a result, the United States shut down the space shuttle fleet permanently. And it wasn't because they were trying to save money or anything. It's because they're afraid that if they send the space shuttle out there now, they'll get fired on. And they might. Now, I want to be clear about something. When I say it's our guys, I don't mean that it's the Nephilim people themselves. It's the humans that we have drafted. I never quite finished that. 80% of the people that we take off of the planet, we are simply relocating them to one of a dozen other worlds. And these people, when they wake up, they think that they're still on the earth. They'll walk outside, there's oxygen to breathe, there's blue sky, there's trees, there's cattle. They do not realize that they are not on the earth, But
Adam has a question for you, sir. Bruce?
Of the people that we take, like 20%, we just plain draft them in the military service, which is something I mentioned to him about the Bermuda Triangle. People have heard the stories about the Bermuda Triangle and all those thousands of ships, planes, and people that have disappeared. But, nobody has ever once laid a finger on a Carnival cruise line, have they? So the point there is that we don't take people at random, and it's not about numbers. Everything that has been taken was stuff that had military applications, like the Cyclops, that famous ship. That was a naval ship that was brimming over with military supplies. It had morphine, medicine, bandages, K-rations, battlefield beverages, firearms, ammunition, And the thing is, there's a war going on right over your head, and we're fighting a war trying to save you from extinction, and we figure that you should be contributing to the war effort. So sometimes we just plain take your toys away from you. And that's all there is to it. We love to get our hands on your pilots, like that Flight 19. Flight 19, if you guys knew about Flight 19, that was us. We took the whole squadron. We even took the search and rescue planes. But you know what we do is we turn their brains back on. We turn on 100% of their brains, and once that happens, they never want to come back. They could come back if they wanted to. Some of them have come back and got their family members and put their family members through the same process, but none of them ever want to be around humans ever again. So what we'll do is we'll take these pilots and we'll train them to fly our stuff. And we do a lot of that. You don't even realize it's right in front of your face. On about every year and a half, you'll see something in the papers where they'll say, 2 pilots crashed while in a training mission or something, But what you don't realize is that these guys could eject seconds from impact and they'd still be fine. There's no reason for them to be dead. So when the government tells you that 2 pilots killed each other by crashing into each other, that's when we take them. We'll take 2 out of America, 2 out of Canada, 2 out of Mexico, 2 out of France, 2 out of Germany, 2 out of Russia, like that, We turn their brains back on, and then we... Hours of material one time, 16 hours, and I never touched on the same subject matter.
We're back on live. This is
Marvin Spacely, and we are back on. And by the way, you can listen on TuneIn Radio if you search for Monster Castle Paranormal. Call into the show on Skype at Wolfman Mike 47 or 775-990-8447. In Canada, 226-271-3466.
And that was Melvin Spacely.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay,
let me just
I should jump
throw
in
something
here
out there real quick.
so that people can
what
understand
you've been discussing
something.
is your people, the Nephilim.
You may have heard terms like the little green men from Mars. there was a race of people that evolved on this planet right here, the one that you're standing on. And they evolved during the period that the dinosaurs were here. They are basically dinosaurs with a brain. And in their original form, they were varying shades of green, as is common to reptile species. But their skin photosynthesized certain chemicals the way our skin photosynthesizes vitamin D. And as a result of lack of direct sunlight on their skin over the course of millions of years, that race of people have continued to fade in color until they attained the pasty gray color that they're known for today. But they are real. They're not like interdimensional something, even though they have interdimensional abilities, but that's the result of their technologies. Those grays are physical. They're real, and you can walk up and shake hands with them. And if anybody thinks that they're not real, if they think that people are making this up, I've got something I'm going to throw at you here. There's a face on Mars called Cydonia, the face in Cydonia. It's the one that Richard Hoagland has been showing everybody for decades. The problem is that Richard Hoagland has been showing the face upside down.
No shit.
If you get a good look at it.
I have turned it
Turn
over.
it around the opposite direction.
There's a total different face.
What you think is two eyeballs is where the two shoulders are. And there's a little neck, and the thing that you think is the mouth is actually the eyebrow ridge. And what it is, it's a monument to the grays. And it's old. It's like 65 million years old. And it goes to show you how far back all of this started, because those grays, they had a nuclear war here on the Earth, and they blew the Earth away. And as a result, they created a nuclear winter that froze this planet solid as the Rock of Gibraltar in an event that your scientists call Snowball Earth, during which time you could have walked from Africa to South America and never once got your feet wet. And it remained that way for millions and millions of years. So to these reptiles, this was the worst possible scenario. And at some point, they completely abandoned the Earth and never even looked back. They actually went out into other star systems and colonized a number of worlds, and they had a really long history, but at some point they decided that all the good worlds were already taken. They already had forms of man living on them. So they decided that they were going to conquer the galaxy, and the place that they wanted to start was our planet. Our planet was about 20 times the size of the Earth, but it had 11 moons, so it didn't quite have 20 times the gravity, even though the gravity was significantly higher. But a number that comes into play all the time for us is the number 26. It's a lucky number for us. You think that the number 13 is bad luck, right? But if you add two 13s together, two negatives make a positive. It's 26. The galaxy takes 26,000 years to rotate one time. The thing is that our planet was 260 million miles from the Earth. And we had about 260 different countries, and we had a year that was actually 1,040 days in length, but we split it up like a leap year so that we had a calendar that was only 260 days in length, but there were 4 of them back to back, and that was a year to us. And our year had 10 months, and each of the 10 months was made up by 26 days, and our days were 26 hours in length. And one of the things that people ask all the time is about the surface temperature. Well, you know, we were so far away from the sun that, you know, the sunlight only affected maybe 10 to 15% of our actual surface temperature. The majority of our surface temperature was the result of geothermal heat radiating out from the planet. And our planet, which was covered in these massive oceans, all these oceans were like heated swimming pools. So that's one of the things that people will have a hard time understanding. Our planet was very, very unstable. We had earthquakes on almost a daily basis. And it went on like this for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. And we developed really extraordinary technologies, and we got the whole planet under control and started using all of the natural forces to our benefit. And the whole planet was just covered with fruits and vegetables. We had lots of land, we had lots of food, but we didn't have war. That's something that people need to know. We didn't even have a word for war in our language. You know, we had lost so many people in catastrophes. You know, the idea of one of us killing one of our own kind was abhorrent to us. So, you know, we had this huge military. It was like a United Nations military. And we had Army and Navy, but they were there to take life. They were there to save life. Our Army was like the Army Corps of Engineers. And our Navy and their Air Forces would deliver food where it was needed or would evacuate people out of catastrophically hit areas, you know. We had our planet completely down to where we turned it into a total utopia. There was no wars on our planet. We did have firearms, admittedly, but that was because some of the wild animals on our planet were quite vicious. You know, we had stuff that was so big and so mean, they could have used one of your grizzly bears to pick its teeth. So we did have firearms, but we didn't have war. The thing is that we had 11 moons, and we had started colonizing these 11 moons, and we had, you know, like international space stations and that kind of thing, and we were picking up transmissions that were going from Mars out into the farthest reaches of the galaxy. And there was these reptilian people. And they were talking about the shortages of food and material. And, you know, they were always complaining that they were starving. And they were, a lot of them were hibernating. They hibernated for years at a time. And we made the mistake. We didn't understand because we didn't know what a war was. We called them, and we invited them to come over. We told them, you know, we've got a lot of land here, and we've got food everywhere. You know, if you can get used to fruits and vegetables. You know, we can even provide cattle and other things because, you know, we're not vegetarians ourselves, to be honest, you know. We're not very predatory, not like some people, but we invited them to come over, and they did. They came in mass.
What kind
They began massacring us.
What kind
by
of
the billions.
hallucinogenic?
Hold on, Bruce.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Bruce, let him ask you some questions, please.
Can I ask some questions from the chat room?
Sure.
One is, who are you hiding from? And I thought it was the Greys or somebody. I don't know.
No, okay, Bruce, I put in the chat room, Bruce, that you're staying in a hotel. That story is a long story because they burned down his house 2 times. But anyway, you're kind of in hiding at the moment, right, Bruce? I mean, you don't really want the government knowing where you're exactly located. Is that correct?
Well, you know, I was telling him that I lived on a mountaintop for 7 years in a tent, and I was completely off the grid. And the government, they searched and searched and searched, and they couldn't find me. So they lit the entire mountain on fire.
So what you're saying is the government and the Greys are working together, and that's why they're after you? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who is after you?
No, they're not after me because of what I am. They're after me because they don't want me telling you the story that I'm telling you right now. They don't want the public to know the real truth. They don't want the public to know that there are
Bill Cooper
billions of people on Mars. You know the story of the Europeans and the Indians?
Yes.
You know
Slaughter.
when the Europeans came over, they took over this country?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's a civilization on the planet right next to you. It's populated by billions of people, and they're massively superior to human beings. They have advanced technologies that you couldn't even guess at. They could blow the whole surface of this planet away and not get a scratch. And the government's afraid that if they even admit that they really exist, that it will cause a calamity and the world will collapse. They're worried about a worldwide public panic taking place and rioting in the streets and all that kind of thing. So they have gone to great lengths to keep the public from knowing that we're there. But I want to say, for the record, we are not hiding from you. We have been doing everything. We have flown our battle stars over cities like Phoenix. We have sent flights of UFOs over Washington, D.C. in 1952. We have done everything possible to try to tell people who we are, where we're at, what we're doing. But there's so many aspects. You know, they can't just come down here and breathe the air, because that's one of those 9 steps, you know, the 9 obstacles. You know, if the people from Mars came over here and breathed the air, the germs would kill them. There's a lot of aspects taken into consideration, you know. So the way that they figured that they could take a first step at communicating with human beings is by putting people like me around the planet living amongst the human populations. There are aliens living amongst you that look just like human beings, except for my ears and the fact that my teeth were different. And, you know, there's other genetic differences, but you wouldn't see them. You know, there's stuff on the inside. You know, I have 2 arms, 2 legs, you know, a body like everybody else. You know, the only thing that would make me stand out is my pointed ears. You know, incidentally.
Hey, can I cut in? Hey, man,
Yeah.
This is Young Nancy, man. I got a question for you, Bruce. So you're saying you are an alien? Is that what I'm picking up right now? But you only have pointed ears? I mean, explain to me that. Can you explain that to me? I've just jumped into the group chat. I didn't hear anything you said before. Please explain to me what makes you different.
He did.
Well, my race look European in appearance, except that we all have pointed ears. But 40,000 years ago, the Simian nation was wiped out almost to extinction. 95% of the
36
Simian
rows of
nation
teeth.
was wiped out.
Or 36 teeth instead of 32 as well.
Yes, yeah, my teeth are different than yours. My ears were different, you know. I have hearing differences and sight differences, but it's minor differences. The thing is that in order to prevent your extinction, we interbred with the Simian nation to prevent them from becoming extinct, because there wasn't enough of them left alive to repopulate the species. All of their biodiversity had been wiped out. There was a few thousand breeding pair left, but there wasn't enough to repopulate the species. And in a relatively short period of time, you began showing the undeniable side effects of inbreeding, the first symptom of which is mental retardation. So in an effort to prevent your extinction, we did genetic modifications to you by giving you snippets of our DNA and mixing it with your DNA, and we were successful in preventing any further decline in your species. But as a result, we changed you from apes into the image that you are now, which is virtually identical to us, except that you have 32 teeth where we have 36, and you have round ears where we have pointed ears. See, you have some of my DNA in you right now. But 97% of your DNA is identical to a chimpanzee.
So then what is... My bad to interrupt. What is your race that you're speaking of?
I'm Nephilim. I'm a race that evolved naturally on the 5th planet of this star system.
So the Nephilim,
I am not here.
Are they different from the giants from the Bible, or are you speaking of the same species?
Well, those were our children. When we started interbreeding naturally, I mean, not in a laboratory setting, you know, when we found some human female and said, well, I'd like to go have sex with this woman, you know, quite often the children would have birth defects. And it was the birth defects that led to the giganticism.
Okay.
So some of these children that we had ended up 8, 9, 10 feet tall. But,
what do the Anunnaki have to do with all
anymore.
this? What about
we don't do that anymore.
I meant to ask you before, how do the Anunnaki fit into all this, and can you speak any of those other languages?
No, not presently. Not this time around. I don't know, maybe. Maybe I do, maybe I don't know it. But, you know, our people only speak one language. So I don't know where, and your people used to only speak one language. In fact, for centuries, your people didn't even use their vocal cords. You know, in fact, your vocal cords you got from us in the first place anyway, because primates don't have vocal cords. You know, all the traits that you have, you know, your feet are webbed now, and they're designed like two perfect paddles, perfect for swimming.
Well, actually, you know, for me, you know, I thought you said earlier. I thought you said earlier that your people speak telepathically.
They do. That's what I was saying. They, you know, they don't need to speak in words. They can communicate whole ideas and mind lock with each other. And that's how human beings used to be. Your people, when you were apes, your people were smarter than you are now. When the people on this planet were apes, they were readily using technologies that you couldn't even guess at. And there's the thing, because I had to be put through a process where they systematically shut down percentages of my brain cells until they got me down to a level low enough that I could communicate with you on your level.
Okay, also I asked about Anunnaki. What do you know about that?
Well, that's the word that Zachariah Sitchin uses, you know, in his writings. But that was something that I mentioned to Eric. You know, when King James decided to translate the Bible into English for the first time, he had like 85 linguistic experts all checking each other's work, and they all had to agree with each other before they put it down into the Bible, and they wrote the King James Bible. Yet despite that, they still mistranslated things, and they still made mistakes. Here you have Zachariah Sitchin. He's supposedly translating stuff out of those Sumerian texts, and he's doing it all by himself. Nobody's checking his work. And if you ask anybody who actually is an expert in Sumerian languages, every one of them will tell you that they do not agree with his translations.
That's out of
and
this
I would
world.
guess that probably over 60% of what he had to say was wrong. But the one thing good about what he did was that he brought to the attention of the human population the fact that we were people
Marvin,
from other planets.
Sorry,
I'll give you an
Marvin,
example.
Settle down.
In the Sumerian Texas, it repeatedly states, Kemet is the mother of us all. It's used in the exact same tense as when you say Mother Earth, and it was repeated over and over and over again. We're not from this 10th planet that's out there in the Oort cloud. We were right here. We had an orbit. Our planet existed for, like 4.5 billion years, just like your planet. We thought our planet would exist forever. But it was destroyed by the Greys. They had technology really advanced, and they sent a planetary body on a collision course with our homeworld, which is where the planet of the crossing symbols and all that comes from, because our homeworld and this body, well, it destroyed my planet, and it killed 49 billion people. And ever since then, we've been at war. And that was 53,000 years ago. And we've had massive battles here. 40,000 years ago, the world was very different than you imagine it now, because only about 45 to 50% of the planet was underwater at the time. There was a lot more land mass, and half the population was apes, and the other half were extraterrestrials. So you had half of the population were simian, and the other half were Nephilim. And the population here on this planet exceeded 16 billion. And all of those people were massacred 40,000 years ago. The civilization that was here on this planet 40,000 years ago was completely erased, just the way the World Trade Center was erased by those directed energy weapons. This planet was annihilated, and there wasn't a single living survivor. The people who are here now are descendants of a remnant of apes that we took to Mars, that lived amongst us. We did the genetic hybridization.
What was the civilization like? The apes before? Can you please tell us what the civilization was like before they got annihilated? How advanced were they?
Good question. Good question.
You know what? Here's an idea for you. Okay. Technology was like it is now. It wasn't located in one place. The whole planet was covered in technology. They had factories here that were so big, you could have put modern-day companies like McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, or Airbus all put together inside of just one of their buildings. They had literally millions of employees. And you know what they manufactured? Starships. They manufactured starships, the X-class starships.
It's going to be a break here, I think.
So, and they did that for a long time.
Yeah, we're coming right up to break.
On average, every 20, 25 years,
okay, hang on
we put
your
out
thought.
a new class of starship.
And
we make a couple 100,000 of them.
We're going to go to break.
We do is we just add one number. It'll be like an X-117.
Shout out to Craig Rude. Hey, shout out to Political Woodstock. A-hole Skeptic. Shift Happen. Karen McIntyre. Mood Boy. And Hercules.
Watch out, Farmer Johnson's got salt shot.
Anywhere I forgot, I'll get you back later.
Rock on with the Wolfman. Take this one.
Farmer Johnson's got a shotgun, running naked through a cornfield. Something came in the middle of the night, stole moonshine from his stick. There's burn marks in a circle, strange signs upon the ground. thinks the aliens have touched down in our little town. We know. Crop circles in the moonlight mean us boys have been around to show the girls a little good time, spinning tires in the soft ground. Crop circles round a campfire, we're gonna smolder a little grass. But watch out, Crazy Johnson's got salt shot to pepper you. Johnson took his hat off, open mic at the town hall. Said we're visitors sitting among us from somewhere beyond the stars. You'll know them cause they like trouble, they drink our beer, they like fun. I even seen them with the mayor's daughter, driving around in a local boy's truck. Oh, but we know. Crop circles in the moonlight mean us boys have been around. Show the girls a little good time, spinning tires in the soft ground. Crop circles round a campfire, we're gonna smolder a little grass. But watch out, Crazy Johnson's got salt shot to pepper you. He says they're gonna beam us up, take us in our trucks. They're gonna beam us up, experiment on us. They're gonna beam us up, take us in our trucks. They're gonna beam us up, experiment on us. Crop circles in the moonlight mean us boys have been around. Show you girls a little good time, spinning tires in the soft ground. Crop circles round a campfire, we're gonna smolder a little grass. But watch out, Crazy Johnson's got salt shot to pepper you. Yeah, girls, we're gonna beam you up, take you in our trucks. Beam you up, experiment on love. We're gonna beam you up, take you in our trucks. We're gonna beam you up, experiment on love.
We're going back on. We are going back on right now, okay?
7 years.
Blaze it up, oh yeah. Blaze it up, I'm gonna blaze it up at 4:20 in the morning. Alright, yeah. We're back.
Okay, can
Monster Castle Paranormal Radio.
A couple things I was going to say here.
Okay, all right. Remember to go to hashtag 47Talk in Twitter for live interaction. You can also interact with us live in the Spreaker chat room. If you're listening, you're either hearing us on Spreaker or TuneIn Radio on Monster Castle Paranormal. Go ahead, sir.
You know, the Bible refers to our race as fallen angels.
Yes.
Okay? And it also refers to the serpents as fallen angels.
Correct.
But what people don't grasp is that it also refers to human beings in the same terms. You know, when you think of angels, like the beings that live with God, those are called the cherubim and the cherubim. We are a flesh and blood race of man that evolved on another planet.
All right, my bad to interrupt, sir. What's your name again? Is it Bruce?
Yes, it's Bruce May. But my real name is Orion.
How did you figure out that you real name was O'Brien and that you're a part of a network.
Orion. Oh, I know who I was.
How did you? How did this all come about to where you were definitely? This is what I am. This is definitely what it is. I mean, how did that happen? Tell me that, please.
Well, that's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can put this for Eric at least. Eric, you saw the picture that I told you was of me as a 10-year-old kid, right?
Yes, I did.
Yes. It's a Mount Rushmore. It's on Mars. And people have labeled it the demon head. But it's not a demon head. It's a 39,000-year-old Mount Rushmore kind of thing. And it was supposed to be representing me when I was a little boy because I had an event happen. You know, I was here on the earth 40,000 years ago. And when I was 10 years old,
all right,
I was in a class in an elementary school, and I kind of had this crush going on this girl, and this teacher had the boys on one side of the room and the girls on the other side of the room, and she was talking about the differences between boys and girls, you know, like when guys look at their fingernails, they curve their fingers toward them, you know, and look at their fingernails that way. When a woman looks at her fingernails, they hold their hands away from them and look at their fingernails that way. A man will strike a match towards him. A woman strikes a match away from them, you know. It was this kind of conversation was going on. The teacher was talking about the differences between boys and girls.
All right.
Well, the thing is, they started carpet bombing.
And
we didn't even see them coming because they came out of wormholes. They were cloaked. They just appeared out of nowhere and just started bombing us. And the school I was studying in got hit with this huge
when the gray
bomb.
reptilians started bombing your planet is what you're referring to, correct?
No, it was Earth. I was on Earth, right here,
on Earth.
30,000 years ago.
Who was bombing Earth at that time then? Who was that?
The Greys, the reptilians. The Greys are the reptilians.
So how
do that's how you know people don't know what they're talking about when they say things like the Greys and the reptiles. The Greys are the reptiles.
Hey, Bruce, let me interject, okay? How does Bruce know this happened? The Bruce that's 60-some years old right now, how does he know this has happened? How did you figure this out, Bruce?
No, it's in my memories. I'm a clone. I was alive 40,000 years ago. I'm a major person. So they took cells from my body, and they cloned me, and they brought me back from the dead. And they cloned me amongst humans. Here's another little minor thing for you. You know, the government of the United States and all the other countries, for that matter, won't allow us to come here. They don't even admit that we even exist. So we kind of bent the rules a little bit because you have laws here that says that anybody born here is an American.
Exactly.
And is supposed to have all the rights of being an American. So they picked my parents. My mother was a surrogate. You know what a surrogate is, right?
Yeah.
She was implanted with an embryo, and it came full term, and she gave birth to me. And the thing is, you know, during my babyhood, I didn't remember all this stuff. But I had an event that was very strange, and I was trying to tell the story, getting back. Can I get back to the original thing?
I mean,
okay, hold on, time out. Just let me say this real quick.
I want to know what the event is, what happened. That's what I thought you were talking about when you talked about you were in
he's going to get to that right now. This is an event that occurred that kind of woke up your memory in a sense. Is that correct?
I want to know if it was like a baptism.
Yes. No, I got.
You know, if
he
was baptized
sick.
and.
I got very sick when I was 7 years of age.
Okay, talk to me.
And at the time that I was sick, at the age of 7. You know, there wasn't a lot of medical facilities. You know, things were very different back then. You know, I'm an old guy. You guys don't realize how old I am. But, you know, back then they didn't have paramedics. They didn't have ambulances. You know, if they had to transport somebody to the hospital, they would call the local funeral parlor, and he'd come over and transport you in a hearse. And if you needed a doctor and you couldn't go to the hospital, there was a doctor that would come to your house, and he'd walk in with a little black bag. And that's the way it was back then. The thing is,
That must have hurts a lot.
I was 7 years old, and my temperature shot up to 105. So all the people in my neighborhood were afraid that the little boy was going to die, you know. And they all pitched in their ice cube trays, and they filled my bathtub full of ice cubes and water, and they laid my body down into this water to break my fever. And it was while I was in that ice water that all of my memories seemed to be restored. I suddenly woke up and realized that I was 7 years old again. Now I want to go back, you know, if you don't mind, to 40,000 years ago, okay? Can I? Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. We're ready for this.
We're ready.
I'm loving it.
You know, a bomb hit this elementary school where I was sitting, and the entire building collapsed on top of all of us, including me. And I had turned and was looking in the direction of the blast when a piece of metal shrapnel ripped across my face and cut my face at an angle, going from my forehead down across the top of my nose ridge and going down my cheeks. And it cut me to the bone, and it knocked me out.
Damn.
I dug myself out of the rubble, trying to make this story quick, and I went and I found this girl that I had this crush on, and I dug her out. But while I'm doing all this, all hell is breaking loose because there are tanks approaching on my position, and our guys are coming forward, so I got artillery shells going back and forth in both directions. The sky is full of jet fighters, our guys, their guys, all shooting and firing at each other. And I picked up this little girl, and I carried her for miles in my arms. And I got her, I'm sorry, still chokes me up.
Wow.
I got her behind enemy lines. I got her into a safe zone, and I got her to a hospital, and she was in a coma for 3.5 weeks.
What war was this?
They let me sit with her for the 3.5 weeks. I never had any surgery, you know, because there was literally millions of casualties, you know, and so I never got this scar on my face fixed. You know, they just basically put, you know, tape on my face and taped my face back together.
So you're a veteran.
Over me.
Eric, is he a veteran then? This gentleman a veteran?
You what?
No. Okay, hold on. Bruce,
This is
40,000.
That was 40,000 years ago.
Right?
Oh, okay. All right.
40,000 years ago.
Okay, but the story you're telling right now, because I think people got lost.
One day I was whispering into that girl's ear, and I told her, I said, "You can't die on me." I said, "We're going to grow up together. We're going to get married, and we're going to have a whole bunch of kids." And she spoke for the first time in 3.5 weeks. And she said, "Really? How many kids are you expecting us to have?" You know, and I kind of leaned over and I kissed her on the lips for the first time. And I was 10 years old. And I married that girl. And I had about 15. But the thing is that a major evacuation, we had an evacuation in progress because we knew that they were going to pull out all the stops and they were intending to annihilate the entire surface of the earth. So we were trying to get as many people off the surface as we could. So we had hundreds of thousands of ships that were packed with people You know, the ship I was riding in was one of the latest off the assembly line. It was an X-124. It was state-of-the-art for the time. If the ship existed today, it could take out the entire United States Air Force and not got a scratch. The thing was really heavily armed, and it was state-of-the-art, but unfortunately, it got blown out of the sky over the surface of Mars, and it crashed onto the surface of Mars. And then we became surrounded by these Greys who were intent on taking what we had on our cargo hold. So we evacuated all the women and children, but unfortunately my wife didn't go with them because my wife was a surgeon. And she stayed at this battle site while this massive battle was taking place because it was basically the end of the world. It was our own version of the Alamo. We either hung on or we'd all be extinct. And I'm afraid to tell you that my wife was killed there, and her body is still lying there. You know, bodies don't decompose on Mars. That battle site is still there, and the United States government photographed the whole thing with the Spirit rover on Sol number 513. That's a major battle site. There were thousands and thousands of bodies there, and the guys, the technicians at NASA, doctored all those pictures. They erased all of our cities. They erased all the stuff. They don't want you to know what's really going on. The thing is that 40,000 years ago, I was so grief-stricken by the loss of my wife that I did something that was kind of born of insanity. I built an actual functional doomsday bomb, and it was called a Ramothra. And I delivered it myself personally to that capital world that those serpents had. And on one day, I killed
remember that
over
forever.
65 billion people. And I had already killed over 10 billion of them previously on 2 other planets. I destroyed a number of planets. And in the process, I prevented the extinction of over 150 different races of man, including human beings. The thing is, the Earth was wiped out, so it took a while to clean the Earth up, get it livable again.
Bruce,
yes?
What happened to your children?
Oh, and also, where are the people of Mars living? Are they under the surface? From Craig Rue in the chat room.
Oh, we have, you know, most of our stuff is underground. You know, like, there's not a whole lot of differences. You know, like where you have a house, like on a street, you might walk out the front door and go down the street. We have stuff like that, except that you don't go out into the street. You go down, and there are subway systems underground, and tunnels and roads, you know.
So you're on the
Over
surface.
90% of our cities are underground.
Okay, but there is
But
surface
we still
stuff.
cover the surface.
And you don't
You know,
need...
we have
okay, is the atmosphere
major-
breathable? Is the atmosphere
Right.
breathable?
Bruce, time out. Let him ask you a question, please.
Is the atmosphere breathable on Mars?
Not totally.
So
Not
when
totally.
you go to the surface,
You know, the atmosphere the atmosphere has to be a minimum of 5% oxygen, and I'm afraid it's only about 4%.
okay,
But it's enough that if you took off your space helmet, you wouldn't die immediately.
that's what I thought.
You'd
Actually,
hang in
that's
for
a good
about
answer.
an hour.
That was the right
You
answer.
could walk around on the surface for about an hour.
That was the right
before you
answer.
start getting lightheaded.
He gave the right answer, Eric. Pretty good. That's pretty good. When I give you the toughies, you're giving the right answers so far. And some of the other stuff's
we
way
have
out there, though.
Darren's on the call now, right? Is
Yeah.
Darren on the call?
Also,
I'm here.
Darren, what was that question you had?
I wanted to know what happened to his 15 children. Did they perish too?
No, most of them survived. They went on. They all have families of their own. You know, they had 15 kids, and their 15 kids had 15 kids, and they're, you know, they're still, you know, the descendants, my descendants are still alive. That's what I was telling you. Our current population exceeds 111 billion. And we are dispersed on hundreds of worlds.
And how many are on Mars? How many are on Mars?
I don't have an exact number, but if I had to guess, I think it's somewhere in the area of 6 billion.
Yeah.
How do they make food?
Oh, it's not as complicated as you think. You know, you've heard of the glass domes. We have these huge glass domes, and they're like 20 miles across, some of them, you know. But we only put these glass domes over the farmland. So they're basically just like big, giant greenhouses.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of stuff on Mars that they don't tell you. There's lots of water on Mars. You know, all the oceans on Mars are still there. You know, you've been told that there's no oceans there anymore. No, those oceans are still there. They're just frozen solid. That's all, you know, because in the summertime, the temperature drops to 150 degrees below zero at night, and that's in the summertime. In the wintertime, it drops to as much as 230 degrees below zero. So we have methods of accumulating water. We have actual factories and water treatment plants and stuff. There's this one building that I saw one time that it's about 20 stories tall. It's triangular. Each of its 3 sides is about 1.5 miles in length. And for lack of a better way to describe it, what it looks like is a giant waterbed mattress. But these, you know, we put the water through this purification process. We have to get the salts out of it because it's basically sulfuric acid. You know, we have to clean that out.
What about pyramids? I want to know, what do you know about pyramids? What is their purpose of pyramids, and why is there so many pyramids built? And is there pyramids on Mars, and is there pyramids on the backside of the moon that you know of, or anything like that? What do they do?
Oh, yeah, that's us. You know, the pyramids on Giza were built to honor me. You know, I don't know if you realize that, but those pyramids were not built by the Egyptians. Those pyramids were built thousands and thousands and thousands of years before the Egyptians came around. I mean, the Sphinx itself used to be a lion's head. But some pharaoh 3,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, whatever, he thought he was God, so he had his stonemasons go out there and carve his face where the lion's head used to be. That was their custom anyway. They always did that.
And is there
Whenever
I'm going to keep asking questions from the chat room, if that's okay. Was there any weed on Mars or tobacco? Or anywhere? Do they have the same plants?
You know, if you're asking, yes, we're more into alcohol.
But they're also asking,
we have this,
is the
drink.
Also, the question implies, is there similar plants on Mars as Earth? Is the trees are the trees the same? Are the plant life the same? Where it can grow, if it can grow?
No, we have stuff that doesn't grow here on Earth. We have a drink, in fact. You would probably think it resembles a cup of coffee. It's called Soma. But what it is, it's an hallucinogenic, is what it is.
Or can you send me a case of that?
Mars
can we have
using 100% of their brain?
Yeah, but we want to try it though at Monster Castle. Can you send us one case, please, to Monster Castle? To the Monster Castle.
Hey, listen, I don't make the laws here. I don't even believe that marijuana should be against the law. I mean, how are you going to make a plant against the law?
Exactly.
You know, if a plant is against the law, that's like me saying that a maple tree should be against the law, because I don't like maple trees. And everybody
or
knows.
a dandelion.
that the
I've said the
guy
same thing. My God,
made
I've said the
marijuana
same
illegal.
thing. You might as well make a dandelion
was
illegal.
The guy who was
It's
in charge of
stupid.
the paper industry.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm loving
Yeah, I
that
know,
with you.
it's crazy.
I've said the same goddamn thing so many times. I've said the same thing you just said. You just repeated what I just said many, many times. How can you make a plant illegal? Come on, people, wake up here. This is ridiculous. You can't say, that's like saying, okay, this tree is illegal. That's like saying marijuana is legal. There's no difference. It's ridiculous.
You know, we have huge farms on Mars, and we have horticulture to a fine art. You know, we have flower shops. We have everything. We have our own wineries. We have our own liquor stores.
Okay, what are the
We have department
can we go
stores.
back to the pyramids? What was their function?
Well, it had two functions. It was supposed to have been built as a prophecy because the lion was a reference to Christ, the end of the world when the coming of Christ was, and the three pyramids were a representation of the belt of Orion. You know, they named that constellation after me, not the other way around. For tens of thousands of years, that was just a great hunter in the sky, you know. But I turned the tide of the war in our favor. I saved 120 different races of man from extinction, and I traded my life to do it in the one greatest single act of vengeance ever recorded in the annals of history. And that is what the problem is all about, because we have conquered all of those planets that the Greys had possession of. And now there's only one place that they can go where we can't hunt them openly and kill them. And it's here. They all want to come home.
They want to get
This
baptized.
Probably.
They're planning to kill all of you.
All right, so who is Jesus then, Bruce?
You know, this is the other thing that I was trying to tell him.
Talk to me.
We believe in Christ. The people on Mars are all Christians, except that we have a religion called the Royal Priesthood of Melchizedek. Melchizedek came to our world before it was destroyed. He did not teach us in parables. He taught us openly. We have in our possession something that is called the glorified Bible. That's what you did, translated into
Yes.
English. That's what you would call it.
But more importantly, did unicorns
we
really
believe-
exist?
That our Melchizedek and your Jesus Christ are one and the same people. And that's part of what this is all about. You guys don't realize this is all real. You know, the royal family that rules over these Greys, they're called the Royal House of Lucifer, just like you guys have the Royal House of Windsor. And their society is very different than you can imagine. That was the thing I was going to say earlier that I forgot. You know, I myself, you know, there's like stories. I'm chasing the seven sisters of the Pleiades. You know,
we're going
and
to break out. No.
We're all got bad reputations as womanizers, right? And it's true. That's what you say in your Greek mythology, but your stuff is all wrong.
It's a great place to end it, folks. He's talking about womanizers. All right, we'll be back in a second with more womanizer talk. All right. Yeah, dig it.
Something that rings true. Well, it could
too. Yeah, baby. My love for you will last for one day.
It's a wolf man. Alright, can you dig it?
Here I Jaja.
Extended music play. Alright, tribal seeds.
There are my culture.
Rastafari vibration.
There are my land soul. Now that Babylon runs, sings, all we see is some dread scenes. Causing Babylon system, I can't live now. In I lost paradise, push I to vex all time. Such a different state of mind. How am I to forward this fight? Yeah. Here I have visa. Don't take a herb away, no. Me just want to smoke it. Try to cope with the world. What make you better than I? Me work hard just like you. Me never cause no crime. Through the eyes of the Most High. In I lost paradise, you push I to vex all time. Such a different state of mind. How am I to forward this crime? Yeah. In I lost paradise, push I to vex all time. Such a different state of mind. How am I to forward this fight? Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Rasta vibration. In a monster castle. Alright. Everybody get high. Yeah. Woohoo. Alright, we're back. We are back. Okay, you guys, I did my damage. Probably lost half the audience.
Are we ready to go again?
Oh, yeah.
My question?
Okay, I wanted to talk about the birth rates for a minute. Okay.
Hold on, Bruce.
As I was saying
let Adam
before,
first ask his question before you go into that, if you would, please.
Alrighty. My question is, you speak of what sounds like an interstellar war, and as wondering, has your people progressed enough to use high modulated frequency gamma ray burst weapons?
we have stuff that you couldn't even guess at. We can fly right into the corona of the sun and take plasma out of it and fill like a gas can with it. You know, we have stuff that I can't even tell you about because the last time I was directly involved was 40,000 years ago. I haven't been around that stuff this time around. This time I've been living amongst human beings for over 60 years. So, you know, let me just jump on this because since we got a short period of time, there's a couple things I want to touch base on. One is the birth rates. You know, a lot of negative things have been said about me and my family, you know, about us being womanizers and that kind of thing. And you guys don't realize we generally reproduce one single child at a time for a gestation period of 9 months, carried inside of the bodies of our females who have live births. Our enemies lay eggs. They are specialists at incubation. They will have many, you know, hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of children all at once, every one of them identical to the last cell. Where we actively embrace concepts like individuality. We tell our children it's okay to be an individual, just be yourself, you know, that they have certain individual rights. You know, those serpents they actively avoid that kind of thinking. And for them, it's not true, because if you took a machine gun and killed 100 of those things, there's another 900 of them right behind them that are just like the first 100 that you just killed. And they don't think the way that we do. They're intelligent, like you would consider a man to be intelligent, but their emotions are different because they're hive-minded. They have a hierarchy that rules over them, controllers. Those are called the dragon overlords, which is where the term Dragon Slayer comes into play in the first place, because we realized that if you take out the dragons, those guys, they lose track of what they're doing. So they have these beings that rule over them with these elongated heads. And the higher up you go, the deeper red color they get, and their heads get bigger and bigger until, when you get to the upper echelon in that serpentine society, those guys kind of look like that thing that's in the Sigourney Weaver movies. The alien with the long head.
It's nothing that we can take care of with little baptism, just to baptize them, splash your head and then push on the water, push it in the force full of them, and then when the fire stretch them a bit, their head fucking blows up every time.
Well, listen, guys, you don't want to be in the same room with one of these things, because they can make you see things. Those dragons could make you think you were talking to Marilyn Monroe, and they could walk right up on you, and just the moment that you think you're about to have the best sex of your life, they'll reach down and they'll rip your testicles off and feed them to you. You don't realize what you're dealing with. These little grays, they're called serpents, but that's a derivative of the word servant. Those are the servants, and they are ruled over by the dragons. There are two classes in their civilization, and we are at war with them.
Bruce, you
Yes?
killed a bunch
Go
of them
ahead.
40,000 years ago. Have you killed any since you've been, here?
No, but I've had confrontations with them.
Would you kill them if you had a chance?
Oh, absolutely. If one walked up to me right today, if you brought one out in front of me and I was at a garden party somewhere and they'd go, Bruce, we want you to meet this one really nice gray guy. No, you don't want to bring him up to me, because I'll rip his intestines out and show it to him before he's dead. We are at war. You guys who maybe don't understand the definition, W-A-R. They destroyed our entire planet and killed 49 billion of our people.
Why is Igor coming out? Oh my God!
They are evil.
Why
they
is
eat
Igor,
people, incidentally.
guys?
Nobody ever told you that. They take about 35 to 50,000 people a year themselves out of the United States every
Mr.
year.
Bruce.
And they kill them.
Mr. Bruce,
They kill
this
them.
is
They
Igor.
mutilate them,
I
and
am
then they
from
eat
the
them.
dungeon. Darren, tell him to listen to me, or tell him what I can do. Listen to me, I am Igor.
What are you doing, Igor?
I want to know a question that was not answered.
Which question's that?
I want to know what the fucking pyramids were there for. What they do.
Yeah, he talked about.
It was built to warn you that a day would come when Orion would be back from the dead. And that was the sign that you were supposed to know. When you see Orion come back from the dead,
there's something else. This
you know
pyramid
that you are
structure
at the end of the world.
I use for experiments in my dungeon. Now, it has strange properties. I want to know more about properties of pyramid structure.
He said it's just a symbol.
No, it is not.
It's
It
not a
does
power
strange things.
No, it had a function in the beginning. It had an energy function in the beginning, but I don't know how it works. I've been dumbed down too,
I use electricity and I
See, that's the thing.
pyramid. I get and I make
Compared to my own race, I'm dumber than a brick. But compared to human beings, I'm still a registered genius by comparison. I can tell you that those pyramids had a physical function in the beginning. But you know, the Egyptians not only didn't build them, they tore them down. You know, there used to be these white, like quartz, shine covering. You know, those pyramids used to be white in color.
The cases they were limestone.
All right, man.
No, not on the outside. They were lined. They were perfectly. They were like that pyramid that's in Las Vegas. It was beautiful originally, but when the Egyptians came along, they stripped it all off.
Yeah,
they stripped it all off.
Yeah, they did. They know where they went too. They used them on some other things. But
you know, there
your
was
last life, Bruce. Your last life was 40,000 years ago, right?
Yes.
Your previous one? So you had nothing. That's why you can remember it so well, huh? The memories are
yes.
It's like
I'm not reincarnated. Listen, I'm not reincarnated. I am a clone of a dead person.
But
I was alive 40 years. They're in my genetics.
Didn't you say you met
I
God?
have been to the other side. I have spoken to God.
He wants to know what God was like. He's scared that God is a mean bastard, you know, that's going to hit him and stuff, you know.
Now, listen, guys,
and
you know, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
His testicles.
He came, listen, it's not a joke. We have 111 billion people, and we are all devoted Christians. Christians. We have a religion called the Royal Priesthood of Melchizedek.
What do you guys feel about Muslims?
No, that's a fake religion. That was created by the serpents. You know, you could go over to Muslim nations right now and ask any Arab person if they know what the jinn are. And they'll tell you. They know that the jinn are reptile people that live underground. If you ask an Arab person, do you want to go exploring this cave with me? They'll tell you straight out, no way. There could be jinn at the bottom of that cave, and they not only kill people, they like to eat them too. And it's weird because it's common knowledge to the Arabs, but it's not to the rest of the world. You know, the word demon, I was mentioning this to Eric. You know, people don't understand the word demon, as in demonic possession. The definition of the word demon is ghost of a serpent. Because what these guys do is right before they die, they astral project. And their person, their whole consciousness, leaves their physical body before death, and they begin inhabiting other people's bodies. That's how they come to possess people. And they are the enemy. Those are the grays. When you see demonic possession, those are dead grays on the inside of this thing. Demons are grays, and they're reptilian people. And you know, when Christ came to our world, he restored to us the one thing that we could not restore to ourselves.
Have you ever punched?
He gave us back our innocence. He paid the price.
But
he did the same thing on this planet.
The real question is, did Jesus Christ carry a sword, and did you ever punch an alien gray in the face? Like, I know a few people that have.
Are you asking me, have I?
Have you? Have you ever been abducted?
Oh, of course. I've tortured them to death. I've held them down to the ground and forced them to look in my eyes as I gutted them like a fish. You let one get within 8 feet of me and he's dead. I'm telling you that right now, because I've even measured it off. If I get within 8 feet of somebody and he's my target, he's dead. We are at war.
Bruce?
War. Yes?
Bruce? Can I ask you a question about the dinosaurs you talked about earlier? You said there was intelligent dinosaurs living?
Yes, those are the grays. Those are the grays.
Oh, they were living back then.
Yes, they're dinosaurs. They're from here. They're raptors. They began walking around bipedal on two legs. They began using their hands and arms for other purposes, and they developed ever higher forms of brain function to aid them in their hunting capabilities. 65 million years ago, there were no fruits or vegetables on this planet. There was only two food sources. It was leaves or meat.
Really
so the species here were either herbivores or carnivores. And those grays, they were carnivores. So to this day, 100% of their food intake is meat and meat byproducts, which brings up another minor little thing. When their parents die, they will have a ceremony that we would associate with a wake, except that at our wakes, people show up with food, right? At their wakes...
Don't say it. They eat their parents?
Yes, that's exactly what they do.
No.
They can't. Listen, but that's important. They cannibalize their own. What do you think that they do to human beings?
They make soup out of
these
it.
things. They want to turn you into cattle. And they're going to do it. Because don't kid yourself into thinking that the United States government is going to be able to protect you from an extraterrestrial blitzkrieg and beings that are millions of years in advance of you technologically.
So what you're saying is you're going to be making us into a burger?
7 billion people on this planet are about to be massacred. And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to stop this. And nobody's taking this seriously. Everybody thinks I'm making this up, and I'm not making any of this up. I am the real deal. I'm not a wannabe. I'm not a make-believe. And if you hear anybody talking about anything other than the Nephilim or the serpents, they more than likely don't have a clue what they're talking about. And it's real easy because all they got to do is say something like, I talked to somebody from the planet Sorg that's 23 light years away, and, you have to take their word for it. But the stuff that I show people, you don't have to take my word for it. I will show you pictures from Mars. I will show you images of people with pointed ears. I will show you what's going on at Gustav Crater. I'll lay out the sciences for you. It's just complicated to do that. But most of this stuff, the governments know, but they're not telling the public because they're afraid that it will cause a public panic. But you need to know, because if the truth doesn't get out, all of you are dead. It's that simple, and it's going to be soon, I think. I think it's probably going to take place in the next 2 years.
Are you referring to the poisoning?
Oh, absolutely. You guys are not going to die of natural causes. You're not going to be asleep in your beds dying from old age. You're going to die from war. In the first 24 hours alone, they are going to kill people by the billions. And the people that are left alive on this planet afterwards, they're going to hunt you all down one after another, after another, after another. And when they find you, they'll swarm on you like insects, 20 at a time. And they'll pull you to the ground, and they'll gut you like a fish while you're still alive.
No, we're sitting on our lawn chair. Wait, let's get real. We're sitting on our lawn chairs with a case of beer beside us, and we don't really give a fuck, because I don't care if I live or die in a shit world like this anyway. Because I know I'll come back, because my soul is eternal. Everyone's soul is eternal, so if they kill us, they're not going to really kill us. You can't kill our soul.
Yeah, they can't kill the real you anyway. That's what Christ is about. Make friends with Christ. Because if you make friends with Christ, no matter what happens to you physically, you're going to be fine.
We're not here to fear-monger the people and scare everybody here on this show, man. We torture people and throw bodies down. Who cares? Eat them.
Exactly. You don't. That's the point. Do you think anybody out there cares about your extinction?
The Greys are, the Greys are Igor's favorite. He loves Greys. He likes squishing their helmets right into their eyes.
Here's the thing, though.
It's a tough balance because
when they take this world, and they will, it's not a matter of when. I mean, it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. It'll happen sometime between now and the year 2060. But it could just as easily be tomorrow. You know, the thing is, it's going to happen, and the people who are left on this planet are going to be annihilated. But once all the human governments are gone, and the serpents take possession of this planet, then we are going to clean their clocks once and for all. We can't interfere right now because we are the people who put you in authority of this planet. We gave you this planet back after it was destroyed 40,000 years ago. We set you free on the surface. The only thing we told you is to be fruitful and multiply and to replenish the earth. That's all. We set you free to rule yourselves, to make your own decisions, or for that matter, to make your own mistakes. So we have to go along basically with the stuff that you're doing, you know, because your people are in charge. If they don't want us here, you know, well, most of the time we try to go along with their wishes, but a lot of times we don't. Like I said, we come here, we take people, we take soldiers, we take materials, you know, for the war effort.
So,
but
Bruce,
it's going on right now, right over your head. What?
What can we do? What can we do?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
I mean, it sounds like a call for action, but what do we
do?
do?
It is a call for action. I'll tell you exactly what you should do, but you won't do it. You know, 40,000 years ago, the ship that I was on crashed on the surface of Mars, and it is still there.
I'll do it.
All those, yes, listen, bodies on Mars do not decompose. All of those bodies are still there. They were photographed, the whole crash site was photographed by the Spirit rover on Sol number 513. That's 513. And what there needs to be a massive march on like Washington, D.C., like a 10 million man march, and ordering the United States government to release all of the original photos in their original state so that the people of this planet can see what really is going on.
And if we knew what was going on, what could we do?
Well, that's the point.
We go to Mars and
we listen. We have the technology to stop this from happening. We would be more than happy to come down here and put our military bases around this planet and to prevent this attack from taking place. That's what we would like to do. But the governments of this planet are not allowing us to do that. They're not even admitting that we really exist.
So
the thing is,
help us.
Well, absolutely, you can't defend against these guys. We could defeat them. You can't defeat them. We could, though.
So they don't attack Mars at all anymore.
Oh, hell no! Because that'd be a suicide mission. You know, why do you think that you lost so many satellites and things at Mars? You lost hundreds of satellites that were sent to Mars. And the reason is real simple, because it's like if the Russians flew a MiG fighter jet over Washington, D.C., the Americans would blow it out of the sky, right? Same if the Americans flew F-16 fighter jets over Moscow, they'd blow them out of the sky. You know, for a long time, you kept sending satellites and things to Mars, and we didn't know who it was. You know, all of these systems are automated. You know, so it's not like there's a guy sitting there pulling the trigger. It's a computer. It scans the skies, and if it registers an artificial object coming into the atmosphere, we fire on it. Because it's better to shoot first and ask questions later.
Well, how did the Curiosity make it onto the surface?
Well, that's the point. That's what they did. Because, you see, they landed the Spirit rover smack in the middle of one of our cemeteries. and they landed it smack in the middle of a section of the cemetery that was designated for human beings. In fact, the grave that the Spirit rover was sitting on top of was a German colonel who had been taken out of World War I about 1915. But he died on Mars at the age of about 110, and his grave is right there, and there's headstones with his name and his birth date and stuff there. And while that was going on, the United States government was trying to take the opportunity to sneak in the back door by landing 2 rovers simultaneously. And they lost the Spirit rover after 3 days, but they got it back because, as it turned out, there was a memorial on the side of the Spirit rover that was dedicated to the space shuttle disaster. In short, it was a monument to your honored and cherished dead who were killed in space in a space shuttle incident. And you landed that right smack in the middle of the cemetery that was designated for human beings. So the thing is, after we got this device, what it does is it locks up computer chips.
Oh my God. We have to go to break, I'm sorry. It's the last break. Let's treasure that last thought. We will be back on Monster Castle Paranormal with the Wolfman, Adam Shadow, Darren the Man of 1,000 Questions, and Bruce.
I'm here.
The man from another planet.
I'm assuming we're on break.
And we're back.
They win.
You're live, man.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the Spirit rover, Bruce.
Yeah, okay. Now listen. The Spirit rover landed, and the cameras came out, and when they realized where they were at, they just sat there for 3 days because the camera was panning around, and NASA was doing comparisons with missing persons lists. So our people got kind of pissed off, and they fired this flash memory thing at it, and they locked it up, so you lost the Spirit rover. The thing is, we felt bad afterwards when we realized that there was a memorial on the thing. So what we did was we opened up a comm link between the Spirit rover and NASA. And what they did is while the comm link was open, they deleted all the information and they reprogrammed the Spirit rover from scratch. Once they had it back up to 100% operation, the Spirit rover began picking up an acoustical radio beacon that was broadcasting on the same homing frequency as the base of the Spirit rover. The problem was that the Spirit rover was still sitting on top of the base, and it wasn't coming from it. So they realized that the people on Mars were trying to lead them to something. And it took a year and a half to get to the site, a year and a half. And it was at the top of these mountains. They even named the mountains the Columbia Hills in honor of the space shuttle disaster. And it was at the top of this mountain that they found this crash site. They didn't find this crash site by accident. They were led to it by our people on Mars with the understanding that all the pictures that they were taking were supposed to have been shown to the people of Earth. But NASA doctored all the stuff out of the pictures. And they violated the law. They committed a Class 1 felony. It's like defacing of public property. It's the same as if I walked up and sprayed black spray paint graffiti on the White House. It was against the law. So the thing is, all of your answers, all the questions that you have, who are human beings? How did we get here? Who are the extraterrestrials? What's going on? It's all explained at that crash site in one way or another. And that crash site should be shown to the public. They are committing a felony by not letting you see it. You should have a 10 million man march on Washington to force them to stop lying. I am not making any of this up. I was sent here for a simple reason because I'm a kind of a father figure to the human race and because I'm expendable, because I was already dead.
Everyone take your
pitchforks
and let us
into reason and get you to stop this from happening. We would love to come here, but there's the problem. We're not going to give our technologies to the United States government. Any of the military fortresses that we would build around this planet would remain under our command and control. And the United States government and other countries will not allow that to take place. And if they don't,
Bruce,
you're all dead.
Quick question.
So go ahead. That's what I want to say.
Are the Greys or the serpentine reptilian Greys working with our NASA and our government? Is that why you guys won't give them your technology? Because then the Greys will use it against you?
No, first of all, it's not so much that they would use it against us. It's that they would use it against each other and you. You know, that directed energy weapon that they fired down on the World Trade Towers, that's a Tesla death ray. Where do you think he got that? He told you people he got those technologies from Martians. Go back and check it out, man. Nikola Tesla told you where he got all those technologies. He got them from us. But that's not the problem. You know, just for the record, Greys have infiltrated the United States government. That's what these hybrids are. I don't know if you heard that speech by Brigadier General Mike Miley, the Chief of Staff of the United States Army, who told the ROTC officers to prepare for war against hybrid armies and little green men. If you
I
never heard
remember
about that, look it up on the
I
internet.
remember that.
You know, but the thing is, they have made people that are reptile on the inside, but have human skin on the outside. They also have other people that are 100% reptilian, but they have those holographic emitters that they wear on their bodies that make themselves look human. So there are grays. The grays are the ones that's making you buy fossil fuels. You know, you could have 0-point energies right now. You could put these 0-point energy systems in any car and never pay for another drop of gas. You could put them in your house and never pay another electric bill. You could be flying in the sky and never buy another set of tires. This whole civilization you have is built on theft. They're robbing you and robbing you and robbing you, and in the process, they're heating up this planet, which is exactly what those grays want, because they're reptilian. They want to make this planet so hot that humans die off, and they take it.
Yeah, it's hot,
They
hot,
like to
hot.
eat.
Can you feel it? Hot, hot, hot. I can dig it. Hot, hot, hot. Well, what I said, oh, I want it hot too. And I smoke a little bong with the fucking reptilian. If I don't like him, I smack the little fucker.
Let me ask one more question to Bruce before we all get out of here and we let him go. So you were saying before you're trying to save me, us, our human race. And I don't know if you said this earlier, but one more time, man, can you just really fast tell me, what are you trying to save us from by talking about your experiences?
Extinction.
Explain.
You know, you're not. Listen, let me be clear about something. We have given over a dozen planets to human races. But we've separated them. You know, like on one planet, we put only Oriental people. On another planet, we put only African people. On another planet, we put only European people.
Is that
on another planet?
wait a
we
minute.
only
Why do you do this? Is that because they came and were inbred from different alien races to begin with, and you're trying to separate
it's-
that DNA, or what's going on here?
because this planet is going to be annihilated. We want to make sure that the human beings survive.
Ah.
We want
Okay,
to turn
why-
your
why-
brains
why
back
are we
on.
all-
See,
why
that's
is there
a major issue
Okay.
in itself?
Why do
Because,
Chinese people that are human look like different than white people that are human look like black people that are human? And is it true that black people poop out white stuff?
Well, you're all from the same group. You know, you all started in Africa, and you were all apes originally. But here's the thing, because our race, on our planet, we didn't have sunlight, so all of our races were all light-skinned. But all the apes that were here on this planet, there was a whole bunch of different colors. There were red apes, there were black apes, there were apes that had yellowy skin, there were apes that had
There were
whiter
pink
skin,
apes,
you know, and when
neon apes.
when you mutated
Nipple
into
crabs.
what you are now, you became mostly these different races. You know, our DNA only makes up about 3% of you. 97% of your DNA is identical to a chimpanzee. But you got to keep in mind that there are 3.5 billion pieces of genetic information. So all you got to do is add 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and keep adding until you get up to numbers that are equivalent to 3.5 billion, and you suddenly realize that that's a significant amount of information. In addition to which, 95% of the 97% is junk DNA. It's out-of-date programming. So everything that controls your appearance, how you look, your bone structure, your face, your skin, your hair, it all comes out of a mere 5% of your DNA, and 2 of the 5 is from an ape, but 3 of the 5 is from us. That's why you took on our appearance and likeness. It was never our intention to breed you out of existence. You know, we built a monument to you at the base of Gustav Crater. There is a monument there that is 26 miles across, and it's in the shape of an ape face. And immediately to the right of it is a face of a man that looks perfectly normal, except he has pointed ears. and it shows this man with pointed ears in conversation with this ape. And we're not going to build a monument that's 26 miles across to a race that we're trying to breed out of existence. You know, we only interbred with you to save you from extinction. And that's what we're doing. We have been I think that's what the Bible refers to when people are thinking about the rapture. The rapture's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
We are relocating people to these other planets where they will be safe, because we do not believe that the people here on this planet are going to survive what's coming.
All right,
and we
Bruce.
know what's coming
Bruce, quick question.
because it's happened before.
Yeah, I think someone else has a question for you, Bruce. Go ahead, buddy.
I got a quick question, Bruce. Why are human beings so important? Why are they trying to save human beings? One of the questions from the chat room from Gigi at Shift Happens.
You know, the simian people saved our race from extinction on 2 different occasions, both times with their own blood. The first time was over 52,000 years ago when we came to this world. The first time we came, we set over 10,000 people here. They came down to the surface. They took their helmets off. They breathed the air. And within 10 days, they were all dead because we had no immunities to microorganisms here. The thing is, we were able to develop vaccines from the apes because they were mammals and there was a lot of compatibility. And we created vaccines from the apes that allowed us to live here. And as a result, we lived here for over 12,000 years in a period that we refer to as the Golden Age. Then 40,000 years ago, we were almost wiped out to extinction ourselves again in the war. And the thing is, the contributions that these simian people made to us saved us all from extinction. If it wasn't for the simian people, none of us would be here today.
So you're basically returning the favor now, or trying to.
We do not want you to die. We owe you our existence ourselves. So besides which, you have our DNA in you now. So that makes you kind of a distant cousin. You know, you look like us, even though you've got all these different races and looks and shapes, and it's very different from us, but it still doesn't matter, because ape or no, you're still people, and you're still the living descendants of the people who used to be our friends. You know, we have never abandoned you. It was you who abandoned us. We are still watching over you, and we have continued watching over you for 40,000 years.
All right. Eric, let's ask the big question.
We know what's coming.
Eric,
hold on, Bruce.
I think you got the big question. We've got 10 minutes left. I want Eric to drop the bomb question. You got one?
I don't even know what that question is exactly.
Oh, come on. Okay. Let's all assume, and Yuck too, anybody listening, let's all assume that this guy's telling the truth. Because you don't know. Let's ask him the heavy-dutyest question we can.
Okay, let me say this. Let me just say this. This is important I'm sure there's a lot of skeptics. The bottom line is this. You guys have to realize something. This man does not have a website. He is not on social media. He's not on Facebook. He's not on Twitter. He's not selling any books. He's not speaking at conferences and making money. He's telling all this from his heart, from his soul. Wherever it's coming from, it's not for any kind of monetary gain or publicity or ego-driven agenda. So that's the first thing. So that, to me, gives him credibility right off the bat. Now, I know the story sounds fantastical. I get that. But there's got to be some truth in what he's saying. If it's not all true, there's got to be some truth. And I wanted to introduce him to you guys.
I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'll tell you, he's coming up with answers, boom, 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 and some of them are dead on to other people that have asked the same question. It all coincides together into a sort of a web of information that I've gathered, and it's fitting in.
Exactly.
Most of it all fits in.
Tonight, exactly. I mean, we talked for 7 hours yesterday, and there's so much more. in the future, if Wolfman wants to have him back and Bruce wants to come back.
Actually,
there's so many more stories to tell, but we tried to cram it all into 3 hours so people could get a feel for what's going on. That's all.
Anyways, yeah, it's great discussion, and I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, I'd love to get more intellectually into it, but I was not prepared or anything. It was just totally spontaneous for me jumping into it. But I loved it, anyways, and I definitely love to have you back.
I just want to say one other quick thing. In the space right directly over your heads, there are billions of ships parked up there. Billions of them.
Yeah, but you see, sir, you're talking to the Wolfman. I already know this. Wolfman already knows this. I'm in contact.
Yeah,
I'm in contact. I've been
trying
abducted.
to hold them off of your back. Because they want to annihilate you.
I just want to let you know who you're talking to. I am in telepathic communication with aliens as well.
Okay, me too.
You're not the only one.
Because all these aliens, you are the only race that we know of that does not have telepathy. You are a weird fluke.
Excuse me.
Nobody has seen anything like this before.
I have telepathy.
An intelligent race with no telepathy.
You're talking about humans?
Without the... What?
You're talking about humans not having telepathy?
Yes, you're...
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to have to totally...
That's what the Tower of Babel is all about.
I'm sorry, but we have lots of psychics. We have lots of telepaths. I was telepathically communicating with my brother for years before the fluoride kicked in.
Good. Yeah, the fluoride, that's a big one too there, isn't it? Putting fluoride in the drinking water to keep everybody peaceful and docile right up until everybody shows up and kills them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the same as Prozac,
that's what you're
right?
facing.
Anyways, I'm just saying, a lot of humans I know are telepathic. So I think it's our natural way of being. I think it's being messed up.
You were much more advanced, 40,000 years ago than you are now. You have de-evolved. You're not in the process of evolving. A lot of people put that out there. That's not true. You have de-evolved. We can take people one at a time and turn their brain back on.
If you actually dive into the belief of evolution, because I don't really believe in evolution, and I also don't believe in creationism. I have my own sort of belief in that, which is just basically interbreeding and manipulation of genetics.
Well, the Bible says that God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures which have life." It didn't say that he created life, abracadabra, hocus pocus. It says that he brought them forth, evolving out of the oceans. You can believe in the Bible and still be a Christian. You can talk evolution and still be a Christian. I do all the time.
I believe every human on this planet. I'm the founder
of a Christian ministry for the poor and the homeless.
Would you agree with this? That everyone on this planet.
I'm the founder of a Christian ministry for the poor and the homeless.
And then we want to talk about
I provide over 1,500 meals a week.
Okay, I just wanted to say every human on this planet has the power to come to this, what they call Jesus consciousness, and manipulate reality and create things with their mind and go into the fourth dimension, do whatever you want. We can all do this.
The fourth dimension is time. Time is the fourth dimension.
When you bend time, you can also bend reality as well and matter.
See, the trick is getting into the fifth dimension and the sixth and the seventh and the eighth and the ninth and the 10th and the 11th. That's where the fabric of space comes into play. Because we have wormhole technologies. We can fly halfway across the galaxy and still be home in time for dinner.
What is the technology based on? Is it based on your universal consciousness, or is it based on technology of some sort?
It's just technology. It's just, hundreds of thousands of years of technical advances. a lot of them came by war. Because we've been fighting a war for 40,000 years, and we're always trying to figure out how to make things better. And over the course of 40,000 years, it's like necessity is the mother of invention. We're fighting a war to try to save humanity from extinction. And we're winning. But that's us. I'm not human. I'm Nephilim. You're human. I'm trying to convince you to stay alive. And it's like everybody's going, well, I have a right to die. Well, okay, if you want to die, but it's really going to happen because it's already happened before. So 40,000 years ago.
How tall are you, Bruce?
They annihilated.
How tall?
How tall?
Yeah.
I'm 5 feet 11 and a half inches.
Okay.
I'm just a hair under 6 feet.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to be an asshole, but aren't they the giants of the Bible?
Those are our children that were part human.
So the children were the giants?
Yes. No, they're part human. They're part human and part Nephilim.
Those were the giants then.
Yes. It was a genetic defect. It was like a birth defect from two different races interbreeding together. You have birth defects amongst your people when a black person marries a white person sometimes,
Yes.
And then that's why I thought they would come from different alien races. That's why I was asking you.
Well, there's always
what about the RH factor? What's the RH factor all about?
Oh, you're talking about the blood.
Yeah, what's the RH factor?
No,
Everyone says if you have this negative RH, then you're alien.
Talk that for hours.
Okay.
But, I'm not a doctor.
Wait a minute, talk for hours more than you, Bruce?
Oh, well, we can
I'm
always.
A soldier. Listen, guys, I'm a soldier.
We got 3 minutes
I'm not
left.
A doctor.
I can start
I'm
another
soldier.
show.
You know what that means?
Eric, what do you want me to do?
Hold on, Bruce, let me ask you a question.
But in my own behalf, I want you to know that I've never once harmed a human being.
Thank you, sir. You're awesome. I love you, man. You're awesome. And thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed it. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. And you know what? A lot of the things you said really actually are plausible and ring to be, it fits into a lot of other things.
I don't know if it works this way, but you people at home listening, you should run this 3 hours over and over and over again slowly. Listen to everything that I said, and all the pieces will start falling into place.
Dude, we can do another 3 hours right now if you want. I'll click it on. It's up to you. I'll just click it back on live, and we'll go back on another 3 hours. You can continue.
You want to take a break, Bruce, or
I'll take a half-hour break and then come back on. It's up to you.
I'm good. No, this is what I was born for. This is why they put me here. If you want to, do it for a while.
Well, this is what my mentor Art Bell would do. He would just say, "We're not done yet with this one, folks. We're going on overtime."
There you go, baby. Yeah, baby.
So there's going to be another show after this, folks. So all you have to do is just wait a little while for your signal. If you're on Spreaker, okay, I'll do the whole thing. Visit our website and follow us on the links. Visit Spreaker.com and follow Wolfman Mike 47 for automatic emails informing you that we have gone live. Join our Twitter chat room at #47Talk for live interaction. And the music has been Shylock and Relic, Adam Shadow, the Monster Castle Rock Band, and all material on the show cannot be distributed and sold without written permission from Igor. I wouldn't mess with that. But he's pretty good. If you want to use some, you just talk to Igor. And now we're going to go back on live again. Shit. Here we go. All right.
So are we on live now, or
we're still on live? Well, this show is ending in 30 seconds, and we will come back
I'll
at
finish
you.
with one last sentence. Do you know what I was when all this started? I was a farmer. I was a farmer.
his cards right tonight.
On my homeworld, I was a farmer.
It's crazy, the full moon is out tonight.
Opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network or anyone affiliated. There will be mature and possibly immature content. Your discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.